When you get started with the paste, you want to make sure you have these materials. 1, a scrap piece of paper underneath your work. 2, scrap book pages that we will use for the pasting. And 3, a bucket of paper mache paste. As you get started, you'll want to tear up your book pages into a variety of shapes and sizes. Remember that we're working really small here, so you want to make sure that your book pages are also really small. If they are too big, they will cover up a lot of details of your sculpture. So to sculpt more details, you will definitely want to have a variety of small pieces to paper mache. You'll notice in the bottom right of my screen, I have a lot of long skinny pieces, and those are going to be really useful later on. So the best way to apply the paper mache paste is to actually just load a little bit of paste onto your fingers. Notice how it's not all over my hands. It's just on my fingertips here. And actually rub the paper mache paste into the paper. Make sure you get it on both sides of the paper and then smooth it onto your sculpture like a squeegee. You'll notice that as I'm paper macheing this, some of the papers are too big. So I go ahead and tear off the extra pieces. What I don't want to do is just kind of crumple it and force it down onto my sculpture, because then you're going to end up with some big wads of paper that don't help to define your animal. So you want to keep it nice and smooth. Also be sure to overlap the edges of those pieces that you are gluing down. So here I'm using a long skinny piece so that way I can wrap it around to conjoin several other pieces. This method of taking the long skinny pieces to wrap around your sculpture is a great way to maintain the shape of your sculpture while also bonding several pieces of paper at once. Because that piece is so long and skinny, it doesn't really change the shape of my sculpture, but it almost acts like tape. At this stage, it's really important to make sure that you are using the right amount of the paste. You don't want to use too much. If it is really puddly, and I promise you this will happen, it can grow mold. It'll take forever to dry and it will literally grow mold. We don't want that. So make sure you're doing what I'm doing here and just take a little bit of paste so that way it saturates the paper entirely, but it doesn't leave puddles. So it kind of feels like wet tape. And then smooth it onto your sculpture. You should see no puddles. But all the same, you should also make sure that it's actually sticking to your sculpture. If you're not using enough paste, the little pieces of paper will just kind of fly away. So there's definitely a delicate balance. But please make sure that you are taking the time to kind of squeegee, like I'm doing here, squeegee the extra paper mache paste off of the papers before you smooth it onto your sculpture. Okay, let's speed this up a little bit now, shall we? When you're ready to clean up, you can leave your sculpture upright on the messy mat to dry on your shelf overnight. When you're ready to wash your hands, make sure you first dry them completely with paper towels, then wash with soap and water. If you forget that step, your hands will just slip and slide around and never get clean.